Good morning, afternoon, or evening. What a truly beautiful day it is. Wherever you are, welcome. I am your humbled host, Tony Serrano, and this is the Ph.D. in me. Welcome back, friends. This is the Ph.D. in Me podcast. So with every episode, you will grow closer to who you are and learn to navigate life confidently. Class is in session, except I'm not the teacher and you're not the student. These are questions that I have asked myself, and I know that a lot of us ask ourselves. Whether we tend to those thoughts or not is the question. So let this be a reminder, and let this be a safe space where you can explore those thoughts. You can explore who you are and love exactly what you find. So last episode, we talked about growing pains. Yes, growing pains. That no matter what you do in life, you will experience growing pains. Whether you're working on the relationship with yourself and learning to love the good, the bad, the ugly, learning to have relationships with other people, even in your career, even in your physical fitness, you will have growing pains and it will be uncomfortable. So let those growing pains be for something, be meaningful, to be for a reason. Let that pain not go in vain. Let it be used for something that serves your highest good. So go check that episode out if you just want to sit down and really just listen to a little bit of my insights, a little bit of my stories and my feelings, because like humans, we all are going through something no matter how beautiful it looks on the outside. So today I wanted to talk about self-sabotage. In this episode, you'll learn what is self-sabotage, a little bit of the story of how I go through it myself, and you'll learn how to move through self-sabotage in your life. So first, let's start out. What is self-sabotage? Well, sabotage is to set something up to fail. When you go to yourself, self-sabotage is you're setting yourself up to fail. Often we look at things that are wrong in our lives, things that we blame or we shame or we're angry over, and it's not that something's wrong with us, it's something that's wrong with the behavior or the habits that is causing an unwanted result. So self-sabotage is setting yourself up unconsciously or consciously of behaviors that don't honor your highest good. Take it for example of fitness. If you want to be healthy, but you're continuing to overindulge or to binge eat, then you are setting yourself up for failure. You won't be able to get to that idea of health in your body if you're continuing to let that behavior rule your life. So it's really taking back that control. Self-sabotage is the opposite, where you go, I have no control. I am powerless to this behavior. I don't have the awareness that I am doing this behavior. And I also don't have the discipline that if I do know that that's not serving me, I don't have the willpower, the patience, or the discipline to say, you know what, I'm going to stop. And all of those things are okay. It's part of the process. No one ever sits down and says, hey, this is what self-sabotage is, and this is how you can avoid it. So that's what we're going to go through today. I want you to always love yourself, because if we shame or guilt or get angry at ourselves, it's not going to help us get better. It's not going to help us grow. It's going to make us feel embarrassed and humiliated. And there's a very few amount of people that can actually grow that way. But overall, we want to have compassion, self-compassion. So with self-sabotage, please invite some self-compassion, some love, and just open heart, and allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to say, okay, yeah, there are some behaviors, there are some habits that I would love to break that maybe you don't even realize how powerful your habits are. How you can have your habits work for you. So it doesn't take that discipline to always check yourself and always to be in control, where your habits serve your highest good and they are an autopilot. They are something that you can preset to serve your highest good. And with the PhD in me, we want to learn more about like what is our highest good? What is health? What is well-being? And self-sabotage is the opposite to wellness, is the opposite to well-being. It does not serve your highest good. It's not conducive to your well-being. These are habits that maybe you shut people down, or maybe you shut down. That is a behavior or a habit that it could be passed down. It could have been learned or inherited from your culture, from your family, just from society. And the more that we can realize that these habits can either serve us or they can hurt us. They can help us or they can hurt us. So then we can decide, okay, do I want that behavior to continue? Do I want that result? And really it comes down to results in life. Life is a series of choices. And once we can realize that failure is part of the process, failure should be celebrated. Failure should be encouraged. That if you fail, that means you're trying. That should be celebrated. That should be honored and loved and cheered for. That life, again, is a series of choices. So failure is going to happen. That's a known. And that's a constant. No matter at what point in your life, the growing pains is that you're going to continue to fail. And that's why humility is such a powerful quality to have. But you have these series of choices in your life, and they can break us, they could shape us, they can help us to grow, they can be that weakness that becomes a strength one day, that makes us who we are. And we get to choose who that person is. So always remember that you have a choice for who you are. You have a choice who you will be. Regardless of what has happened in the past, you get to choose in this very moment, who will I be now? Even though that did happen, who will I be regardless? I will be immovable. I will be grounded. I will be who I am. Because look, we aren't our habits. We aren't our behaviors. That is something that was learned. That was something that was programmed or conditioned upon us. But you, when you strip down all of the societal norms, when you strip down all of the cultural pressure, just everything, you as a person, you're pure, you're full of love, you're full of joy, you're full of curiosity and wonder. And you live in the present moment, and you let go with ease, and you love without conditions. And so just take a moment to really feel that. It's true. It's so true. You are not wrong. You are not a bad person because of the behaviors and the habits that you've picked up, that you have inherited or absorbed or just learned from. That's what the peers did. That's what society and our culture did. That's what was accepted. And it doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, because guess what? We get to choose. We get to choose those habits. So with self-sabotage, it may sound easy and nice and dandy as I say it now, but I still struggle with self-sabotage. One of the things I struggle with is a term called adrenal fatigue. Now, I wouldn't say it's actually a medical disease or a medical diagnosis, but I've lived it firsthand. And so from my firsthand account, that is enough for me to realize it's a real thing. It's true. As a personal trainer, I realized the impact of cortisol on the body, and it just wreaks havoc. From cardiovascular disease to diabetes to obesity to high blood pressure, cortisol wreaks havoc on the body. And one of the things that I was living for a very long time is on that edge of adrenal fatigue, where I was in constant stress, constant chaos, where I was always on edge, where I always felt like I had to be doing something, and if I wasn't doing something, I was so uncomfortable to just be still. I had this pressure to perform, and I had this pressure to always be in chaos. It was something that I grew up in. It's something that I didn't know what neurotypical person was, what was normal. I thought that was normal. And adrenal fatigue wreaked havoc on my body, on my mental health. Not so much on my physical, you couldn't see it from the outside, but within my body, that maybe I wasn't eating, I would skip meals. Maybe I wasn't sleeping, I would just power through the whole day. And so eventually that starts to show up as physical ailments. Now for me, it was more mental. For me, it wasn't more emotional. Like I didn't have time to grow close to people, to have those connections and those relationships. There wasn't a such thing as the present moment because I was always focused on the future. What am I going to be doing for tomorrow, for next month, for next year? How am I going to be prepared for the future? It was never like, oh, let's just hang out and have a good time and not worry about time. It was always like schedule and structure and the next thing and the next thing. And any time that I had free time, any time that I had space, I would fill it with something. I would fill it to be productive. And again, that wreaks havoc on your body because then you burn out. And I talked about how to beat burnout a few episodes ago. And burnout is so real. Burnout is actually very sad to someone who is constantly on edge because when you get sick, you literally, like at least when I get sick, I have the body aches, I get massive migraines. I probably don't eat as much as I should when I'm sick. I'm sleeping a lot. So I'm pretty much forcefully knocked out when I get sick. And the burnout to try to go over that when you're just not feeling well, it's very, very difficult. And I would find myself in some way or another self-sabotaging my growth because I never learned to just enjoy the moment. As funny as that sounds, to just have fun, to do something for nothing, for no purpose whatsoever, other than to just be free, to be present, to be grounded, and not, again, focusing on that future, that constant future in the here and in the now. So adrenal fatigue is something where you're going, and you're distracting yourself. And anytime you have moments of space or silence, we want to, again, it's a way of soothing ourselves. It's soothing ourselves because we feel uncomfortable. Whether you feel uncomfortable the opposite way when you're doing too much and that makes you feel uncomfortable, then your self-soothe behavior is to do completely nothing. So it's really interesting and it's very fascinating to learn really what makes you tick. What is your motivation behind things? What are your tendencies, your habits? And do they serve you or do they hold you back? Were they helpful at one point in your life? Did they help you get through a hard time in your life? Yes, adrenal fatigue did help me get through a hard time in my life where I needed to get out. I needed to be independent. I needed to prepare for my future because my present moment kind of sucked. And, that can have the time and place. But I realized the big realization that shifted all of this is that I don't have to be in chaos anymore. That my current environment is what I wanted to create this whole time. I woke up without any pain, without any suffering. I woke up whole. This is the time in the life that I've always dreamed of. I always dreamed that one day my environment would be loving, that would be happy, that I would feel safe to express who I am, that I would have my needs met, that I would be heard, that I would matter just as I am. And it was very profound because I realized that I would busy myself as a self-soothing behavior to focus on getting to where I wanted to go. But again, it was now doing a disservice to me, where I was in an environment where I was supported and loved. And now it's time to enjoy that present moment, to be around the people who want to connect with you. It is the time now where I'm at a place in my life where I can connect, where I can have those deep and meaningful relationships. Because now I know I got my back. I can't be hurt. I can't be harmed. That I can hold space for people when they're going through things. And it's not something that I shy away from, because now I know what that feels like. And I'm not afraid to hold space with someone who's going through something difficult in their life. And I feel safe and confident, again, to not take things personally. One big thing that has really resonated with me is that I can actually confidently not take things personally when people say them. Even if they're trying to say like an undertone attack or a joke that's not funny, like I don't take things personally. And how you express yourself, I don't judge you for it. That's a big one too. I don't judge what you say and how you say it. Look, the world is very walking on eggshells is how I'll explain it, where you could be in a room and offend a ton of people just with the words that you use. And instead of me taking those things personally or judging the people that do that behavior, I'm obviously not going to go and walk up and celebrate with them like, oh, that's good behavior, continue it. But I'm not going to take it personally, and I'm also not going to judge them, because maybe they don't have people in their life that they only have one perspective on the world, and they only have one perspective on the way that emotions, and maybe they don't have it, or logic, just logic in general. So if they have such a narrow view of the world, then I'm not going to judge them. Maybe they just haven't had the opportunity to learn. So is that something that I could bring to the conversation? Like, hey, maybe that's not the way we talk about things. But the biggest thing is that I'm able now to let people express themselves, like just exactly how they are. They don't have to filter. They can just express, and they're not shamed or guilted from it. Like, I'm not going to judge them, and I'm not going to take things personally. So it's a very empowering place to be. But all this to say that the self-sabotage behaviors was the adrenal fatigue to constantly work. And it was such a beautiful place, because now, when I was going through it, and mind you, when I go through things like with the Ph.D. in me, I let it stay, I let it simmer, I let it marinate for a week or 2 weeks or even months. Like, these are topics that I actually go through in my life. Topics like growing pains, where I actually have growing pains. And even part of me self-loathes, and it's okay to self-loathe. And all this to say, so what I was doing is I was feeling so uncomfortable in my body. Like, I was itching. I was reaching for something. I was crawling out of my skin. Like, everything was beautiful in my life. I was serving my community. I was present for our family. I was putting family first and really building the relationship with myself. And I was healing that transgenerational trauma. And I was being healthy, like just in my mind, body, spirit. And I was sharing my gifts with the world. So like on paper, I was doing everything that I needed to. But yet something inside me was like crawling out of my skin. I couldn't sit still. Meditation was not so easy. And I was longing for something. And what I was longing for was the initial feeling was to indulge. So at first I was thinking, okay, I want to get a new MacBook. I've had my MacBook since I graduated from high school, and I wanted to get a new one. And then I really did the research, and I looked at the money. And if you don't know, but this last year or so, I've really committed to a non-toxic lifestyle, non-harmful lifestyle. So like to the environment. If it's not good for my body and it's not good for the environment, I'm not about it anymore. And with technology, unfortunately, the truth is of the matter that electricity is about 75% of our carbon footprint. It comes from electricity, not so much gas, which if you want to look into that, you reach out and I'll do a whole episode on that. But long story short, I said, okay, you know what? This MacBook is not going to soothe me, was not going to satisfy that craving, that longing, that I just uncomfortable feeling like I wanted to soothe myself. So then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get a phone, the new iPhone 13 Pro. And I was like, oh, I need it because I'm filming more. And I just went through the whole thing. But what I did is I like read into it. I said, look, I'm not going to get a new phone. I said I wouldn't ever get a new phone again, just because of the minerals that come from the phone and creation and all of these things that are harmful to the environment. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Fast forward, I was looking at the new Bronco. It is a SUV truck off-road vehicle, and I just saw it and it's kind of nostalgic for Ford. And long story short, I got close. I rented it on Turo. If you haven't tried Turo, it's an app where you can rent cool cars. So all of this to say, I realized I was like, that's not going to satisfy me. It's not going to satisfy this feeling I have. And I was like, what is this feeling? So I had to really sit with it like this last whole month and go, no, that's not gonna, no. Spending money is just not, it's not what I need right now. And I basically came to the conclusion that a behavior or self-sabotaging behavior that I inherited is that spending money when you want to soothe. Now, financially, you can have things in life, but allow them to serve you and not set you back, because sometimes those are big purchases and those can set you back. Now, this isn't a financial episode. I'm just sharing a little of my story, but the moral is that I was taught and I learned that when I feel uncomfortable, I spend money. Shopping spree, they call it, or just indulging, like overindulgence. And instead of me sitting with that feeling of not being satisfied, I started to guilt myself of like, you're gonna harm the environment and you're gonna sabotage yourself because that's not the behavior that serves you. So instead of just sitting with my discomfort, I started to guilt myself for not being satisfied with what I had. I hope you can all relate to me that you have everything that you want, everything that you need, and this part of you just wants more, just wants something new, or just wants to splurge. And it's not wrong per se, but again, it doesn't serve your highest good. It is a self-sabotaging behavior because those big purchases, they could set you back. They can start to have friction within your relationships, just within your finances. So instead of me distracting myself with all of this, I realized that's what I learned when I was growing up. That when you're uncomfortable within, even though everything's okay, you set up a fake problem, a fake challenge. What do I mean by that? Well, everything is okay in my life and I'm feeling uncomfortable, so my behavior is to create something that I can focus on to take my attention away from me feeling uncomfortable. And it's going to set up this chaos. Remember, I talked earlier about adrenal fatigue. So I'm going to set up a challenge in my life. I'm going to sabotage myself so that instead of focusing on my discomfort, I'm going to focus on this new challenge, this new chaos. Now, it only works for some time. And the only reason I bring this up is because I've done those things before where I've splurged and went shopping and stuff like that, and it didn't feel that discomfort. So I get to the point now where I don't want to harm the environment. So that's another reason. It's like, hey, Tony, what are you doing? Like, before you make this decision, like, let's really think about it. So that growth right there was a lot. And I had to think, I was like, okay, if I just threw all that away, or for some reason, doesn't matter, when we have space and we have free time, we like to fill it with something. It's okay. It's something that we do. It's just, let's own it. Let's talk about it so we can move through it. But I had to think of like, why is it? And it's this part of me that is insatiable. And I started to like go, I hate that I'm so insatiable, that I'm unsatisfied, that I'm never satisfied. And going through that train of thought is not helpful. I'll just share with you the spoiler alert. It's not helpful. It doesn't have an end. You're just going to constantly go like why you're not what you want to be. And instead, I like to find solutions. I go, okay, feel the pity, and then what are you going to do about it? So I give myself time to really go through it. And I was like, am I really unsatisfied? Like, I had to really ask. I go, is Tony really unsatisfied right now? Or is there this habit I have of feeling unsatisfied? Let's think about that for a second. Am I unsatisfied? Am I insatiable? Or is there a part of me that is insatiable? So I was like, ooh, that's a good one. Let's think about that. And the habit I had is insatiable. The self-sabotage. That was part of me. Okay. Very recent, like I'm talking this week, where I self-sabotaged because I was trying to soothe myself from this feeling. And the feeling is there's a habit that I haven't been doing and it's itching to get fed. But now that habit doesn't serve me. That habit isn't for my highest good. That habit's not going to make me be healthy or stronger or have deeper, meaningful relationships, a deeper, more meaningful life. That habit doesn't serve me. So it's time to just let it go. Like, let that self-sabotage go. It doesn't need to be fed. I get to choose what I feed, what I get to choose, and that's not what I want. I want to have gratitude. I want to be satiated. I want to be satisfied. I want to be fulfilled. And I am. It doesn't mean I stop growing. Like, I still have goals, still where I want to be. But that is just not serving me anymore. So I had to go, oh, okay, like I am grateful for where I am. I'm not in pain anymore. I'm not in constant being harmed by someone or hurt by someone. The environment is loving. And now it's time to let go of those behaviors that didn't serve me, the coping mechanisms, the strategies of soothing myself when I am uncomfortable. So now I just sit with that discomfort and I try to figure out, okay, is it me that wants it, or is it a behavior or habit that's like, feed me? And now, like, if you don't serve my highest good, you gotta go. You gotta go. I don't have time. I only have time for love. I only have time for peace. With peace, chaos comes. Chaos comes. But you know what? I am calm in the eye of the storm. I've seen the storm. I've been in the storm. I've been knocked down by the storm. I've been dragged by the storm. I've been silenced by that storm. And now when I see the storm, when I'm in the storm, I go, I got this. I got this. And things are going to come up and things are going to be unexpected. But you know what I could do? And I can sit in stillness. And I can love every part of me. Because as you heal, as you transcend your trauma, you have to let go of the things that no longer serve you, of the self-sabotage behaviors that set you back. And this is the time where you can create new behaviors that will help you, that will help build the life that you deserve, that will contribute to the vision you have for your life. So it's so beautiful. That's why we should get so clear. What do we want? What do we want? Because then we will realize, look, hey, that's not serving what we want, what we need. What we really want is a need. And we can go, okay, look, I'm not going to give any more energy to that. I'm not going to give any more energy to that. It's not useful. It's not helpful. It's actually harmful. And it's not me. It's not really me. It's not my authentic self. Because my authentic self wants me to be happy, wants me to be whole. And what a beautiful space that I can be in now, where I am whole. I'm full of love. I'm safe. I'm safe to be me, to feel supported and welcomed and celebrated and seen. There is no harm that is being done to me now. What a beautiful place to be. And so you don't necessarily have to heal your trauma to let go of the behaviors that no longer serve you. You can get to that environment, to that space where you can start your healing. And you don't have to be a bad person because someone hurt you. Hurt people hurt people. That doesn't have to be true for you. You can decide. You can choose, look, I am in pain. I am suffering. But I'm going to give myself space. I'm going to give myself love. And I'm going to let myself experience these emotions. The mantra that I have tattooed on my arm is explore darkness and embrace silence. I'm going to explore the unexplored in my life. The good, bad, the ugly. And I'm going to embrace silence. I'm going to lean into what I find. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to let it be. And the final then is to choose, okay, this is where I've been. Do I like it or not? Life is a series of choices. So I can choose here to take back my personal power to create the life that I deserve. A life full of love, a life full of happiness, of connection, of meaning, of purpose. Where I wake up every day grateful, safe, excited, fascinated, curious. I wonder what today holds. I wonder what today brings. I am open to my highest good. I am open to receive all the good that is seeking to come into my life. I am vulnerable. I accept who I am. And I'm not afraid to live the life that I deserve. So I had to remind myself of all of those things because I had this longing for pain. As hard as it sounds, I had been in chaos and I'd been in pain, I'd been in suffering. And now that I've gone so long without it, a part of me felt like, oh, well, something's missing. And the thing that's missing was not helpful. It's not useful. It's good that it's missing. It's good that it's gone. So I just have to let that whole feeling go. Let the whole part of me go. I don't shame it or condemn it. I don't pretend that it didn't happen. It happened. Yeah, I did. I engaged in self-sabotage behaviors. I did. And it'll always be a part of me, but it does not define me as a person. I get to choose. I get to choose. I get to choose who I'll be from this day forward. That's my accountability. And I don't think we realize that pain and pleasure. So I had to reshift my mindset to go, I could self-sabotage and have a little bit of pleasure to be in pain again, to know that I'm like constantly worrying about something. Or I could see so much constant pleasure, the abundance of pleasure, to acknowledge and be present in what is wholesome in my life, that my life is wholesome, that why would I go backwards? Move forward and go, yeah, my life is wholesome and there's so much pleasure to wake up whole, to wake up and again, just feel so much love. Just good energy. So that's what really pushed me to go, yeah, I'm done. I'm done with that self-sabotage behavior. It's not serving me. And I don't need to be in that constant state of worry. I don't need adrenal fatigue. You know, we fill ourselves so that we're focused and we're always going busy. But did we really even get anywhere to where we will then have to completely just zone out and clock out because we've pushed ourselves so hard, where we'll just have to binge eat or binge watch TV to soothe ourselves, to serve as a pacifier, really, because we're just so uncomfortable with that discomfort and that feeling. And, you know, everyone's at a place in their life and it's okay. My biggest thing is just don't harm other people along the way. Now, unfortunately, I see the pain and I see the trauma, and it does rub off on people. And if people, especially kids, are not equipped with the awareness and the tools to recognize trauma in action, then they will be a casualty of comfort. They will be the ones that take on the stress, that take on the worry, the insecurity, the fear, because you're not handling it yourself. Now, there could be adults that have those tools, have the strategies and the mechanisms to know, okay, that person's just going through something right now. But as children don't realize that it's not personal, that just because they're going through something doesn't mean that your environment is unsafe. But as children, that could very well be the case. And if the adult doesn't recognize it, how is the kid supposed to recognize it? If the parent can't stop it from rubbing off on the children are just victims, really innocent victims, bystanders, casualties of comfort. And again, that's just the part, that's just the line, that as soon as that line gets crossed, I have to step in. That is just my instinct. I think it's my maternal instinct now more than ever, but it's just not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. Like, if you have to drag someone down with you, that crosses the line for me. I understand your hurt. I understand your pain. And you can move through it at any speed, any pace that you want. I just ask, please do not hurt anyone else in the process. Please do not create a harmful, toxic environment. Please do not bring them down with you. Heal at your own pace, at your own speed, but do not harm anyone else in the process. So if you know someone like that in your life, just let them know that there is options, that there's help, that they can be supported, that they can be loved just as they are, and that it's safe to express what they need, and they can learn new tools. It doesn't have to be a end-all be-all situation, an all or nothing. They don't have to change a ton of things in their life. If anything, they're going to learn to let go of the things that don't serve them, to do less of that toxic thinking, to do less of the insecurity, less of the doubt and the worry and the fear, and lean into the love that is sustainable. Because adrenal fatigue is not sustainable. To go through that cycle where things are going great in your life and then you figure out how to self-sabotage and you're distracting and constantly bombarding yourself with information that you have to binge eat or binge watch to soothe your behaviors, to soothe that feeling of discomfort where you know this isn't serving you, but you continue it anyway because you don't recognize it, you don't have the willpower or the discipline or the strength or the courage, or just to know that you can, that there is a choice, that you can rise above it, that you can rise to that occasion. So with self-sabotage, there is a general idea of a way that you can work through your self-sabotage behaviors. So hopefully now you know what is self-sabotage and how can it play out in your life and how can it affect the people in your life. Because if you can't even recognize the behaviors, how are you supposed to know the effect, the consequences of that behavior? Someone's watching you in your life, whether it's your coworker, whether it's your partner, whether it's your kids. Someone is watching that behavior and you not even being aware of the behavior. How can you damage control the consequences of it? So the first step is to recognize that there is a behavior that's not serving my highest good. Again, there's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with that habit. There's something wrong with that pattern. And in order to address the pattern, you have to recognize that there are patterns in our life. Our whole life is full of patterns and habits. And some of them can't serve our highest good. And it's okay. It's okay that they don't, but let's just recognize it. So the first step is just recognize that there are patterns, there are behaviors that do not serve our highest good, that harm us and not help us. But just as there's habits that are destructive, we can create habits that are conducive to our well-being, habits that serve our highest good, that want us to have more wholesome, meaningful relationships, more connection to our authentic self, a presence in the now, in the here and the now, and accepting things in life as they come and as they go. So first you recognize, okay, there are behaviors, okay, they're not serving my highest good and I don't really have control over it. It's okay. Don't worry about your control. Don't judge yourself for why you don't have control. Just recognize it and then organize. So, okay, I have this binge eating behavior or this binge watching behavior, and the way I'm going to organize it is, what do I do? So, binge watch, binge eat, and organize, well, how do you feel leading up to that behavior? So now you know what you do that probably doesn't serve your highest good. How are you feeling prior to that? What kind of stress is going on? Did you not sleep well the night before or at all? Did you have a fight with your partner? Did you have an emotional reaction? Did you watch something and it triggered you? Did someone say something and it triggered a memory? Maybe a traumatic memory. What were you feeling leading up to that? Where you felt the itching and the crawling out of your skin and that discomfort in stillness. And then you organize. So you go, okay, logically process backwards. And then when you do that, again, you recognize, okay, look, I'm getting uncomfortable. So now I get to decide. I create this space. That's why I love meditation, because it creates space between thoughts. Thoughts are constantly going through our mind. Now, as a reminder, you are not your thoughts. They are a part of you, but there is something deeper and more profound within you. So thoughts are coming and going. With meditation, you learn to recognize that space between thoughts. There is space, even though it feels like sometimes there's not. It's just constant bombardment. But as you meditate, you go, okay, from one thought to another, there is this space. And as you meditate, you learn to grow that space. So now, instead of constant thoughts, there's maybe a second gap. And if you can do a second gap, you could do a minute gap. You can do 5, 10, 30, 1 hour space between thoughts where you have stillness. And so when you recognize your self-sabotage and you organize, and then you start to realize when you're feeling uncomfortable, that space grows. And then you can decide in that space, I'm uncomfortable, say it out loud, name it to tame it, and you go, I'm about to self-soothe. And for the first few times, as long as you need, self-soothe. You'll probably self-soothe. But at least you know, okay, at least I know this is something that's self-soothing. And I'm trying to distract myself. And I don't know yet why I'm distracting myself, but I know that I'm feeling hot and I'm feeling shaky and I'm feeling a little sweaty and I'm getting a little flustered. So good, work with that. And then you know, okay, and then go through that behavior. And then at one point, you're going to get to a point where you can decide, I'm just going to sit with it today. I'm going to be flustered. I'm going to feel sweaty and my heart's going to race. I'm going to feel emotional and it's okay. I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to let myself feel it. I'm not going to rush to justify and go, no, Tony, you have better things to do. No, Tony, you're better than this. No, Tony, you have to be a role model. And I'm going to try to justify this excuse for why I can't be, let's say, angry. No. You sit and you be angry. And you don't, try to make it go away. You sit with it and you go, I am angry. I'm angry. And whatever you need to do, you cry, you can write about it, you can set your phone up, you can videotape yourself, or you can just do a voice recording where you just let it all out. You let it all out. Like, why am I feeling so uncomfortable? And why can't I just feel uncomfortable? And let me just feel uncomfortable. And, then you start to recognize, okay, is this behavior something that I choose or something that was conditioned on me? Something that was enculturated on me? Where this is a habit that I did not intentionally, consciously choose. This is a habit that does not serve my highest good. And the reason that I'm soothing myself is to avoid a part of me that is unresolved. A part of me that is maybe sad in some way, or ashamed, or humiliated, or embarrassed. And when we allow ourselves in that moment to go, I love you, just as you are. I'm sorry that this happened to you. I'm sorry that you feel alone. And I love you. And I'm here for you. And you show yourself this self-love, compassion, free of judgment. That's truly how you will liberate yourself from sabotaging behaviors. Now, I'm not a therapist. I'm sharing real life experience, real life insight into my life. These are ways that have helped me, that actually work. And if some way or another you can model them and practice them and change them to what fits you, what honors you, maybe part of this will help you, maybe part of it won't. Maybe you have trauma and maybe you need a therapist. Maybe you need someone to work with you. If you just need a friend, I'm here for you. I really know what it feels like. I can really hold that space. I can really not judge, really not take it personally. But if you're having suicidal thoughts or really intense self-sabotage behaviors like addiction or alcoholism, things that will jeopardize your life and your well-being, you'll need to see a professional. But, if you just need someone to talk to about this, someone to just vent, because most of the time it's just us being there for one another. And we don't have to be professionals to be there for one another, to just hear each other out. The thing with therapy, I love it, but it has its drawbacks sometimes, because the people that know us so intimately are the way we tell the story to the therapist might not be the full story or the real story. And they're only going to see us for 1 hour out of the whole week. Whereas if we told and talked to someone like our friends who really know the full story, who can be honest with us, who can tell us things that we don't see, our blind spots, that's so important to have those meaningful relationships, those meaningful connections. So if you need to know how to reach out, how to ask for help, or how to say, look, I just need a vent right now. I don't want your response. I just want to share with you what I'm going through, and I don't want you to judge me. And you can set those boundaries. If you want to learn how to reach out to people and be safe and be honored and respected, you let me know, because I can help you with that. I can tell you exactly what to say to people so that they know, look, I just want you to listen. I just want to be heard. I want to be supported. And as I go through this is my healing process. And I love you so much. That's why I am safe to share it with you. And you're all I have. And I want our relationship to go deeper. Please honor me. Please respect me. I'm going to be better. Who would get upset with that? To be so direct with your communication. So beautiful. It is really beautiful. We should all be there for each other. There shouldn't be topics that are taboo, because it's not helpful. It's not helpful to hold back. Love has no limits. It's unconditional. And I just have so much love for you. I do. So, enlighten love. Namaste. Have yourself a beautiful, bright day.